Hey y'all, welcome to or welcome back to our very bookish channel, and welcome to We Heart Arcs. It's no secret on this channel, Jenna and I love arcs. We like reading arcs ahead of time. We like be doing reviews for y'all and letting you know what books coming out are good or what books coming out are not so good. And we're very aggressive with trying to get arcs ahead of time, especially for our go-to authors or our instant buy authors we've loved in the past, or series that we want to continue. So we thought for February, which is the month of love, since we love arcs, we would do a full reading vlog of reading nothing but arcs. So the first book that we're going to read in this vlog is a book that Jen and I are buddy reading, and that's Adrift by Will Dean. Jen and I have read this author in the past. We have both enjoyed his books, and he writes some sort of dark thrillers. To me, they feel kind of a little bit fiction, but a lot of thriller. It deals with a lot of scary circumstances. And in this book, Adrift, you're going to be following a family who lives on a boat, and the husband is an author and the wife is an author, and the husband is struggling with his career and the wife tends to find some success, and the husband gets very jealous. And they also have a son that lives with them on this boat. So I am really excited to get into this book. I think it's going to be very fun. I think this is a really good book for Will Dean's style of writing, and I think that this is going to be great. I really hope that Jen also likes the book, and I think it's a great way to start off this reading vlog. So after Jen and I buddy read Adrift, we are each going to read 2 more arcs that we have that were not the same. So Jen's going to pick 2 arcs that she wants to read, and I'm going to pick 2 arcs that I want to read. I have no idea what my other 2 arcs are. My plan is just to read Adrift and then look through my Kobo and look through my physical arcs and see which one is pulling my attention. Since it is February, I do want to read a romance book. So I'm going to have to try to find some kind of romance arc that I can get my hands on, or that I might already have and haven't read yet. So I do want to pick a romance book, but I don't have any idea what book that is, or what my 3rd book will be, or my 2nd book if I read the romance last. Who knows? You are in for a wild ride in this vlog because we have no idea where this is going. So I hope you enjoy.
Hey guys, Jen here. I am starting our ARC vlog, ARC being advanced reading copy. We both got Will Dean's Adrift, which I just downloaded the electronic ARC to my device, and we're both reading that. And then we're picking 2 other ARCs because we are calling this one We Heart Arcs for February. We're going to be reading them in January. I still don't completely know what I'm going to be reading for the other 2 ARCs for this vlog, but I am just starting Will Dean, so we're just going to start with that one. I will show you in a minute because I saw the cover for it and I want to talk about it. I know Amanda talks about the covers a lot, but I did want to talk about it. First though, I am running some errands and I've decided I'm going to unhaul a couple books into a little free library, and I figured I would take you guys along because I haven't gone to one in a while. It's been winter, it's been crazy. But today is one of those days that doesn't really feel like winter. It's more very rainy and kind of colder. Perfect day to read. And I figured I would just run out to one I normally go to. It hasn't been lucky lately, but I'm hoping today will prove to be a little lucky. So the next time you see me, I'm going to show you the little free library. Unfortunately, there wasn't anything in this little free library, but I did unhaul an ARC that I never ended up reading and I have lost interest in. And I had read Wizard of Oz last year because I was reading like Oz inspired books, so I unhauled that one too. And it does have a lot of kids books in this one, so I'm hoping it goes to a good home. But this one in the past had some great books in it. It just didn't this time. But I am going to finish running my errands. I will see you again once I pick up Adrift by Will Dean. I will go over the cover that I wanted to talk about and tell you a little more about it, and then give you some thoughts after I read some.
Hey y'all, good morning. Well, it's morning for me. I don't know if it's morning when you're watching this, but just wanted to grab my camera real quick, and I am holding it with my hand, so if it's shaky, that's why. I don't have it. I'm feeling lazy, and I didn't want to have to get out everything and like connect. Anyways, I'm just holding it with my hand. But I do have an update for y'all. I am about 80% into Adrift, and I am really liking it. This book is, it's so bingeable. It's the way the writing is. It's the writing. It's not like what's going on necessarily. It's just the writing. The book actually feels more fiction to me. There are very scary and very thriller and horror like type elements of the book, but I think overall this just feels nonfiction. I think I gave you a description in the beginning, but in case I didn't, you're following a woman. Her name's Peggy. You're getting her point of view, and you're getting the point of view of a 14-year-old named Samson, and they live with a guy. Well, they live with a guy. It's her husband and his father, but the man that is the head of their household, he is very abusive mentally, and emotionally, and probably physically. There's not been a lot of physical abuse in the book, but you know that he's capable of it. So I feel like it's coming, or there might be some. I hope there's, it's hard to read that. I'm not gonna say I hope there's not, because I just feel like it's kind of unavoidable, but he's just typical abuser, manipulative, separates them, gets insanely jealous over stupid things. He doesn't want anyone else around them. He keeps moving his boat further and further away from people, and he doesn't care. He doesn't care that they have to walk further to get to their bus stops, or it's more inconvenient for either of them to get to the library or school because Peggy works at the library and Samson goes to school. He only cares about himself, and if they ask him about it, he says, well, you've got legs, you can walk, that kind of thing. Just typical abusive behavior. And although it's hard to read about, the book just sucks you in. Every time I sit down and start reading, I don't want to stop. I just want to keep going. So I'm enjoying it so far, and I can't wait to get to the end of this book to see what happens with these characters and see how it all resolves itself. So I am out and about running errands today. I'm running into Panera. I'm gonna get a coffee, and I'm gonna finish the last 20% of this book. So I'm excited to get to the end of that, and I will give you final thoughts. But also today I'm gonna run to Barnes. There's a Barnes close by here, and I want to see if they're doing blind date with a book, because Jen and I want to do blind date with a book vlog for February. So not all Barnes and Nobles do it. Some do and some don't. I don't think it's a corporate thing where all stores do it. I think it's just individual, like the managers running the stores or the employees running the stores will, decide if they want to put some blind date with the books out or not. So, because I've seen it in some and not in others. So I'm hoping the one by here does it, because I'm going to get a blind date with a book if I can for that vlog, and that will be exciting. And of course I'll take you all into Barnes, and I will also give you an update later once I have finished Adrift and moved on to the next book. And I don't know what my next book is going to be. We'll just have to kind of wait and see how I'm feeling after the ending of this one.
All right, here is the cover that I was talking to you about, and I feel like it's just a very striking cover. I love the fact the sky is the way it is, like storm clouds, as if, what is coming to terrorize this family, like what storm is coming. But I also like how the letters are blending into the trees. And then this is the boat that they're gonna be living on. I just like the fact that the cover is a little striking. I just wanted to point that out. I know Amanda tends to talk about the cover, but I wanted to point it out because I just think it's a really well done cover. So I will be back with some thoughts after I read some. I have made it up to chapter 11, where it's going to be the viewpoint of Peggy, the wife. And I feel like this is a little bit of a different book for Will Dean. I feel there is such a dark I don't know how to say it, but it's a character that you just want to hate. And I don't feel there was something that strong in the other ones. There's definitely were characters you didn't necessarily really like in the other ones. There were certainly characters in his other books you didn't really like, but I feel this is a little different. What is the same is the tense, very stressful environment that you are reading the characters in, and there's a lot of tension. I feel already, just like you can feel it as a reader, and I feel like that's a mark of good writing, that you're uncomfortable. You don't like the situation your characters are in. And I would say the story started off with a bang, and I'm not trying to pun there, but the only time so far that we see the husband, his name is Drew, from his viewpoint is when he's a teenager and he does something evil and drastic, and I didn't know what to make of it. Now, I did read a chapter where they talk about that, and he had shared it with his wife, but then kind of gaslights her, I think, into thinking that he didn't really do that, that it was just a dream, and he says like all kinds of reasons why it wasn't really a memory, but I don't know. It's very, I hope it's not unreliable narrator. But so far, I am sucked in. I have obviously read a big chunk, and I will be back with more thoughts.
As you can see, I have done my shopping. There's ice frozen on the top of the hatch of my car, and when I open it, it opens and then closes because the ice is pushing it down. So I had to put my stuff in the back seat. Anyways, I did go into Panera, get my coffee. Unfortunately, I didn't get to finish reading because there was a sweet old woman in there, and she kept talking to me. She was asking me about my Stanley cup that I keep my coffee in and how long it keeps the coffee warm, and then she started talking about her health issues and stuff. So she's very cute, and I don't mind conversing with people, but I also was like, I had something to do. So anyways, my reading got behind a little bit, but I did that. I went to Sam's Club, and now I'm at the Barnes. And y'all, I am not gonna show, usually I try to get a shot of me like walking in the door, and like right when you open the door you can see like the whole store, how it's set up and all the beautiful books, but I'm not doing that today because it is really cold outside, and I'm just not going to be able to stand there and do the filming. I'm just going to run in as best I can, but I am going to run in. I am going to check to see if they have the blind date with a book, and I might, depending on how much time I have left, I might be able to sit and read some more on my book and then follow up with y'all with final thoughts. Y'all, all of these books are 50% off. Oh my gosh. There's actually some big sales going on in the store right now. So y'all, look, this book is 50% off, and I was so gonna buy this book even though I have the ARC, but look, deckled edges. Ugh, I'm not a fan of deckled edges. Let me know in the comments if you like deckled edges or not, but I honestly haven't met anyone yet that actually likes deckled edges.
So I just got up to part 2, and excuse my hair, I've been laying down reading, but I just got up to part 2 in Adrift, and it ended kind of crazy. I don't know what to think because we're only seeing the wife Peggy's perspective and Sammy, who is the son, and not Drew, who's the husband, except for that very beginning part. And I don't know if it's unreliable narrator. I don't know what's going on. I feel like we're gonna get more of the story. I need to keep reading, so I will let you guys know some more thoughts once I get through more. I honestly meant to record while I was reading, but I kept getting sucked in so much, and I just kept wanting to read, and I didn't stop and record some thoughts along the way. And a couple of the thoughts that I had, and I'm still trying to wrap my brain around the ending because I did finish. I need to think about it for sure. I wanted to talk about some references to the yellow wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman because I just recently reread that, not realizing it was going to be referenced in this book. And I just think that's crazy. And I enjoyed it as much as I did years ago. I think it's very impactful the first time you read it for sure. But I love that there was a reference to that. I'm not going to say anything else right now. I'm still just thinking about, because I was a little confused at the end, and I have to text Amanda and see where she is in the book. But I am going to move on to my next arc. I have decided, because I am over the moon elated that I got access to the electronic arc for The Caretaker by Marcus Kliewer. At least I hope that's how you say his last name. Let me show you real quick. So this is the cover of it, and I have the electronic arc. I had signed up for the physical one, and I still kind of wish I would get the physical one just because it's easier to read. And I just had to read the electronic of Adrift by Will Dean, and I'm not always a fan to keep reading on the electronic, but I'm not going to keep complaining about that. So that's the next one I'm reading. After I read some, I will be back with some thoughts.
Update time. I am back home. I did finish Adrift last night. I felt like the book, I stand by everything that I have said previously about the book. And I just want to talk for a second about Will Dean's writing. He has a way of writing these abusive situations in a way that just your heart, you just feel for these characters. You feel a whole roller coaster of emotions. And he does say in his author's note, and I'm just going to read it verbatim because I don't want to mix words or make assumptions necessarily, but this is what he says, and you can draw your own conclusions. But he says, I wrote this from the gut. The story touches on some things I experienced in childhood and other things I merely witnessed or feared might happen. So at some point in his life, he has some kind of trauma from some kind of abuse, whether it was for him himself or someone around him that he knows. And he is able to take that emotions and that whatever he's feeling and put it on paper so vividly that you just feel like you are literally there with the characters. If you want to read a book where you feel something and you have a roller coaster of emotions, I think this is a good book. So I do recommend it. I am giving it 3.5 stars. And but the only thing is, and Jen and I had to text about this, we don't usually discuss books that we're filming about and we're both reading because we like to, form our own opinions and not be swayed by one another. But we did very briefly text about the ending. There are some epilogues. If you read this book and you get to the prologue and you know the part that I'm talking about, come back to this video and comment below because I am just curious. It can't just be us two that kind of had the same thoughts. So enough about that. Good book, recommend it. I want to talk about what I did yesterday. So y'all know I went to Barnes and I tried to find Blind Date with a Book because we're doing a vlog on that, and I couldn't find any. And I asked the bookseller, and the bookseller told me that they don't do Blind Date with the Books around the holidays, but they will be doing Blind Date with a Book soon. So unfortunately, I did not find Blind Date with a Book at the Barnes, but I did find something I'm excited for, and that's this. And this is a collection of short stories. I think they're contemporary romance love stories, and the idea is like an advent calendar. You read the first one on February 1st, the second one on February 2nd, and it goes all the way to Valentine's Day. It's a countdown to Valentine's Day. So I thought this was super cute, and I'm going to film me reading each of these each day and put some short form content up. By the time you're getting to this video, the short form content will already be up, so make sure you go check those out if you're interested in these stories. And since Jen and I are trying really hard to get ahead, I didn't want to wait for the Barnes to put out Blind Date with a Book. So I went to a local bookstore, and this local bookstore had the cutest shelf of what they call book booze, which is their version of Blind Date with a Book. So I did pick up one, and I grabbed this one. This one is female for male. It's a new adult possessive hero sports romance, and I have never read a sports romance, and that is going to also tie into the next thing I'm going to talk about. But I've never read a contemporary sports romance, so I thought this might be a fun one to pick up. So stay tuned to find out what this book is, and I'm going to vlog myself reading it. As someone that does not really read contemporary romance, I think this should be an interesting vlog, so we'll see if I like it. Finally, I want to move on to my next book in this vlog. I have decided to read a contemporary romance. I do think picking out this book boo has inspired me, and I was able to get an ARC of a Meghan Quinn book, and her books, y'all, they have the cutest covers. I'm drawn to her books because the covers are so cute, and I see them everywhere. I don't know, I haven't really read any reviews or ratings of her books, so I don't know how well they rank and how well they do in ratings, but I just saw this on Edelweiss and I thought this is perfect. So I am going to be reading Just for the Cameras by Meghan Quinn. And this is a sports romance. You're following I think it's a professional football player, and he gets roped into doing some PR stuff to try to boost the opinions of his team and the morale in the community. And I think it has to be San Francisco, because there's the bridge on the cover. See the Golden Gate Bridge? So I'm pretty sure this is San Francisco. So he wants to just get his city more involved in sports. And I think he has to fake date an actor or actress or someone else to try to get more attention on him and the sports team. And I just thought, since we are loving arcs, I thought I would read a love story. So I don't know, I'm gonna start this. I think it'll go by very quickly. On the ebook, it says there are 416 pages. Those are ebook pages though, so I'm not sure how that equates to physical pages. I'll figure that out. So I'm gonna start this and I will update y'all later.
Okay, I have an update. I have started The Caretaker. It is very strange and kind of ominous in the beginning, and after reading Adrift, which I feel could almost have like trigger warning of themes of like domestic abuse, and I just feel like that was a very tense and stressful book to read up to the ending. Going into this one, it's also giving very dark, atmospheric tension almost. The very beginning talks about someone called the Visitor, or several beings, like they almost seem like beings, like supernatural beings almost, called the Visitor. And you see this older man, because he talks about how his body isn't working as well anymore and he's older. It's him and his wife in this very like remote, near the woods place, and he goes at night, and it seems to be this ritual where he goes and like visits these beings. And I'm not exactly sure yet what's going on with that, because you're not getting told just yet. You're just given this scene of this is happening. And then it switches perspectives to Macy Mullins. She's the one that answers the Craigslist ad to be a caretaker, and it's for this older man. She's going to meet the wife to talk about this job to caretake for that man that you saw go to the woods and meet with like this visitor. I like that part one is called Unemployed Train Wreck, and it almost reminds me of, I said this somewhere else, where it's Millie from The Housemaid who has this past and she's desperate for a job. And that's what you're getting kind of from Macy, is she's desperate for a job and is answering this ad. That's as far as I got, and I needed kind of a break. One from the tablet for sure, because I am not a tablet reader. I get frustrated of staring at a screen for a book, and I needed to read something maybe not as dark. But I had the arc for Fairweather Friend. I read her other book called Business Trip, And that one I thought was pretty decent. It's in the vein of like Freida McFadden. And so I started reading this just to kind of take a break. It's not grabbing me as much. It's like a psychological thriller, but the writing just seems, I don't know. Something about the writing is just not grabbing me. It's almost too simplistic or something. Almost like it's reading like a YR novel, but the content isn't necessarily YR. It's about a meteorologist on a TV show, and she has a very huge following of fans, but she ends up being murdered at the beginning of the book, and people are distraught because she's so popular. And then it's skipping around viewpoints and timeline to kind of tell you the story of probably what happens. I don't know if I'm going to keep going with this. I think I'm going to switch back to The Caretaker. I just needed a little break and have like a physical book and something that wasn't as stressful and intense, because this is what that book is giving so far. But I will be back with an update to let you know how The Caretaker is, and hopefully it doesn't keep bothering me that it's on a tablet or that it's very tense and creepy. We'll see what happens. But also today, it's really cold outside. I'm off. We have a fireplace, and I love having time where the fire is on and I get to just read by the fire. And here's a quick video I did for Instagram because I had some time this morning reading. So I'm gonna go back to the cozy fire since it's so freezing outside and read some more, and then I will give you an update either today or sometime soon.
It has been a crazy morning. I keep switching what I want to do. I thought I just want to stay home and read my book because you guys, I am really liking just for the cameras, and I am really wanting to continue to read this book. I'm not very far in, but anyways, I kept switching between staying home and then thinking like it's supposed to be super cold this weekend. We might get a little bit of snow or a lot of snow. They keep changing this weather storm situation, so I probably won't go anywhere this weekend. So I thought, well, I want to get out and just make sure like I've got everything I need for the house in case we can't leave, you know, for cooking and food, toilet paper, all that stuff. So I did decide I wanted to run out today. I am dying to get something cute to decorate. I have to decorate my shoe rack in my foyer. I bought this shoe rack on Amazon and I just think it's so cute, and it looks really cute in my foyer and I love it. And I decorated it when I first moved in. My neighbor brought me some really pretty flowers that she grows in her backyard, and I just thought it was so cute, and I love the way it looked, and I love the way they smelled, and they made me happy every time I looked at them. So I've been keeping cute decorations on the shoe rack, and I had it decorated so cute for Christmas, but obviously Christmas is over and I needed to switch out my decorations, so I decided to run to Hobby Lobby. Unfortunately, when I got to Hobby Lobby, it was not open yet. So then I remembered I needed to get bacon, and the only place I can get organic bacon is Whole Foods. Whole Foods is 30 minutes away from my house, my new house. That's the closest Whole Foods. So I had to drive out to Whole Foods, got bacon. I stopped at Michael's because they have a sale on some storage things, and I picked up some of those. I ran to the Dollar Tree because I needed to look for some dish drying mats for some crafts and hobbies that I needed to do. Found some things in there, and now I want to read my book. I can't wait. I think I'm gonna go to Barnes and just sit in Barnes and read the book because I want to feel just warm and cozy. I want all the vibes from the books. So I think I'm going to run and do that for a little while. I mean, if it were up to me, I would just sit and finish this book in one sitting because it's been so good. Let me just let you guys know what this book's about now that I've read a little more into it. Oh, and by the way, the FMC in this book is not an actress. Okay, I don't know where I got that from. I don't know why I thought that, but her name is Maple, and she is a zookeeper at a zoo. So You're following the MMC, who is, like I mentioned before when I described the book, I was accurate about the MMC. He's a football player. He has to do some PR stuff. And part of this PR project that he has to do is working at the zoo, because the zoo's trying to raise money for some of their exhibits, and he gets stuck with flamingos, and he's not very happy with that. He wanted something, you know, like lions or bears and something big, some bigger, more fierce looking animal. So he's kind of like upset he got stuck with flamingos, and Maple is the zookeeper for the flamingos. And y'all, I'm just loving them. Let me just describe these characters for you. The male main character is very grumpy, very manly, and he's just very much like a typical guy where he's not too concerned about other people's feelings. Like, he does not care, especially with other guys. He does not care if he makes them mad, if he offends them, if he hurts their feelings. He's just very brutal and very kind of selfish in a way, where he just wants what he wants and he doesn't care. And he's the type of male, you know, just needs that female balance. He just needs that female to come along and soften the edges a little bit and get him a little more joy in his life, bring him some joy. That's very obvious that he's just missing lots of joy, and he's grumpy. So that's your MMC right now. And then the FMC is just a very sweet woman. She's very passionate about her flamingos at the zoo. She has them named, takes her job very seriously, and she takes this this PR project that the football player is doing very seriously, because she wants to raise money for her flamingos. And you can just see the way that they are so opposites, but how they're so gonna work together. And I just love that. I'm surprisingly actually having a really good time. This is just such a fun little like popcorn read. It's just been interesting, and a book that I feel like I'm just gonna devour and read very quickly. So I think I'm just gonna run to Barnes. I would like to find a cute cafe. I don't know if I see one on the way. Maybe I'll look one up on Google Maps, but I want to go somewhere, get some coffee, get warm, get cozy, and read some more of this book.
Right, another update. I got sucked in really badly with this book. I am loving it, but I probably stayed up too late reading it last night. I got to part 2, and right after I recorded last, there was actually a slight plot twist, I would call it, something you don't really know as she goes into this job. And it's toward the beginning of the book, but I'm not going to say what it is, just because I feel like it should be saved for when people actually read it. You find out what she has to do at this house, and it's a little crazy. And I still don't know if it's going to end up being that these rules are needed and it's real, and whatever these visitors are real, or if this man who you see at the beginning of the book is just crazy, or he has Alzheimer's, or what's going on. An unreliable narrator at the beginning. I don't know what to think. And I'm really excited, and I'm trying not to get my hopes up too much, because I don't want it to go off the rails. I want to love this book this much until the very end. But I am going to continue to read, and I'll give you guys an update as I have more thoughts. Something I forgot to mention in my last video, I was just reminded, and I thought it was just me, but I'm assuming there might be a connection to what I saw. So the next chapter, chapter 7 of part 2, is named Gremlins. And when I was reading the part about what they're calling the rights, or it's basically these rules that her job is to make sure all of these rules happen. And there were 2 movies that made me think of, because how she gets the rules is on a VHS tape. And it reminded me of the movie The Ring, which was a horrifying movie. also reminded me of all the rules, because there's some really strange rules, and I'm not going to go over them and ruin the book. It's part of the experience. You need to read it. But it reminded me of Gremlins. Gremlins is one of my favorite movies from the 80s. And of course, there are the rules.
No.
What happened?
He hates bright lights. You know, there's some things I forgot to tell you guys, and they're really important. Number one, he hates bright lights. We know that. But you got to keep him out of the sunlight. Sunlight will kill him. Number two, keep him away from water. Don't give him any water to drink. And whatever you do, don't give him a bath. And probably the most important thing, don't ever feed him after midnight.
So I haven't read this chapter yet, but I have a feeling there is some kind of weird connection, or I don't know. I don't know if he's just a fan of Gremlins, but I'm gonna keep reading. I'll let you guys know.
We're just gonna jump right into it. I have not filmed for 4 days because I got sick, but I did finish Just for the Cameras by Meghan Quinn. And y'all, this book was so fun. I am by no means a contemporary romance girly at all. I've read a handful of contemporary romance books, mostly just for vlogs on this channel, and I haven't really enjoyed them that much. Like, I thought they were okay. And I read some that people that read contemporary romance really like, so I thought, you know, this just might not be a genre for me. But have I been sleeping on Meghan Quinn? I don't know. I see her books everywhere. There's especially around Christmas time, the book with the Grinch theme, How My Neighbor Stole Christmas, I think is what it is, where there's like a woman holding a ornament. Anyways, I see her books everywhere. They have super cute covers, very colorful. They look fun, but I've just always shied away from contemporary romance because none of the books that I've read in the past have been that fun or interesting. But this book, y'all, was so fun. It was really good. I loved it. I'm not giving it 5 stars. I'm going to give it 4 stars. It wasn't perfect, but I really enjoyed both of these characters. I really enjoyed seeing the progression and the character development of Graydon. It was really fun watching him go from being a very just independent, grumpy football player that doesn't need any help from anybody and does what he wants, to being considerate towards Maple, to being a little bit like, let's do what's this not good for Maple, let's look at and see what's in her best interest, to then being a little protective of Maple. So this book was definitely a slow burn in my opinion. You are at least 65%, I would say. I can't remember exactly, but you're more than halfway through the book before these two just kind of drop their defenses and admit the feelings they have for each other. My biggest complaint about the book is after this point, and this was the same issue I had with Fall I Want, is I was loving the book, eating it up. There's all this tension. You're wondering when it's going to happen. When are they going to, you know, just start admitting their feelings and being cohesive and nice and lovey-dovey. And then that happens. And then the book is just pure smut for like another 10% of the book. Like I was just getting like, oh my gosh, it's kind of like, and then they just can't keep their hands off each other and it's just constant. And that's just not my thing. That kind of ruined that section of the book for me. I will say though, it does calm down and temper off, and then you get more plot coming. So there is more drama and more plot afterwards. It's not like they hook up and then there's a bunch of smut and then the book is over. So I really do appreciate that. So the book I was thinking about giving it less than 4, but then the end picked up and I ended up giving it 4. But y'all, the first 65% of the book I just loved. Now, moving on, I want to talk about the next book that I wanted to read. And I didn't film this because I was sick, like I said, but I had a hard time picking my next book. I was trying to choose between 2. And the 2 books that I had such a hard time choosing between was Half City by Kate Golden and Bloodbound. by Ellis Hunter. Now, I've never read either of these authors before, but I was definitely wanting some kind of fantasy into my book because I read Will Dean, no fantasy, just kind of a fiction / horror / thriller book. Then I read Just for the Cameras by Meghan Quinn. Obviously, that's a contemporary romance, so I was really wanting some kind of fantasy. Now, Half City was intriguing to me because Kate Golden wrote a very popular romantasy trilogy, and I can never remember the name of the books or the name of the series, but I know one of the books, I think it's the second book, is A Promise of Peridot. I can always remember that title, but I can't remember the others. Anyways, it's been a popular series. I've seen a lot of people reading it and talking about it. I see the books at the bookstore, so I know that she has some traction. And so that interested me because of the author. The next book that I wanted to read was Bloodbound. So I was trying to choose between the two. And Bloodbound is by Ellis Hunter, and this is two authors, so this is a pen name for two authors that are friends. And this book sounded so intriguing, and you all know that I love a pretty arc, and this book is so pretty. And going into it, I don't know much. I just read a little bit of the back here, and it says, Book 1 of a debut high-stakes fantasy trilogy set against a once-in-a-generation duel to the death between rival witches and dragon riders as they battle to control the source of all magic in their kingdoms. Perfect for fans of Fourth Wing, Throne of Grass, and Red Queen. So ultimately, what my decision came down to is I just wanted to read a physical book. So I decided to pick this up because I was just tired of reading on my Kobo. There's just something about a big floppy arc. It's kind of thick, but I like my books thick. This book is 480 pages, so I love a good chunker, and this just fit my mood. So I have started reading Bloodbound. So far I've got to chapter 22, and I am loving the book so far. I love Skylar and Astrid. They're both very strong females. They both have very real and personal and emotional things that they're fighting for, but they both are very different at the same time. They have different types of strengths, but they also fit well together as far as like they could balance each other out with their strengths and weaknesses. Kind of hard to explain. Zryan, I think that's how you say his name. It's Zryan. Zryan is the king's son. So that's the heir that Astrid has been training to duel, and he is scrappy. He's a fighter. He is ruthless. He is vicious. You can tell he's very smart in a very manipulative, conniving kind of way. He seems quiet. He's kind of a man of few words. And all of my opinions of Zyron come from the view of Astrid and Skylar, because you don't get Zyron's point of view, at least not yet. I haven't got his point of view. So unfortunately, none of the stuff I want to talk about is listed in the back on the description, so I don't want to give anything away. This is an arc. The book's not out yet, so I really don't want to give away any spoilers, but I love how these three characters have crossed paths. I think it's very fun. I mean, obviously, I just told you Astrid is supposed to fight Zyron, so they meet to start getting prepared for this big battle. But how Skylar joins into the mix was really fun. It was very surprising, actually. I kind of didn't see it coming. And I have to say that there are some cute animals in this book. They're called familiars. They're with the witches. So I really like that aspect. I think that's very fun. It's kind of part of their magic or part of their strength. I will tell you that. And Astrid and Skylar are kind of starting to form a little bit of, I wouldn't call it working together, but they're kind of using each other for their own benefits. They're kind of mutually working together to use each other for their own benefits right now. So that aspect is kind of fun to watch too. And I will say, you can kind of see a romance starting to form between Zyron and Astrid, which is very intriguing because he obviously is the Dragon Rider Kingdom and she's the Witch Kingdom. So it just feels like, I don't know, there's just something big brewing because you have these three main characters connected, but in different ways, and they have ways that each of them want the others to succeed, but they also have ways that each of them need the others to fail. So I'm very, very curious to keep going. I am sucked into this book, and I've been talking a whole lot, and I don't want to bore you anymore with yapping. So I'm gonna just pick back up and let you all know what I'm feeling when I read a little more.
Okay, so I finished Caretaker, I didn't record at the time because I had a cold, and I still kind of have a cold, but I'm a lot better. I loved the ending, first of all, but there were so many things that happened since the last time I recorded that I wanted to record, and I was just miserable and I looked horrible. I was not going to record when I had a cold. So I loved that book so much. It was definitely 5 stars. And I'm going to think of a way to talk about the ending that doesn't ruin anything. I talked to my friend Hannah, who I usually talk books with all the time, and she ended up reading it, I think, like the next day, and she read it one day, and she also thought it was really good. It was 5 stars for her too. Sometimes we disagree on books though, so I didn't know if she would agree or not, but she loved it. I'll think more about it when I get to final thoughts for this vlog. I also started and freaked out because I got an electronic ARC of Emily St. John Mandel's new book coming out. It's called Exit Party, and it's not even out until September, I think. I was so shocked that I got access to it on Edelweiss, and I only got a chapter into it. It's just one chapter. I don't know what to think so far. It's because I didn't know much about it. I just went in blind, like completely blind on this one. And it's set in the future, but not that far into the future. And it's already kind of weird because I feel like it is similar to what's going on in America right now. So it's a little scary, and I don't know how much I want to read a book about what could happen with everything that's going on in America right now, especially what's going on in Minnesota. So I'm going to read some more, and then I am going to be back with some thoughts.
I have made lots of progress with Bloodbound. I only have this much more left. So I don't know. I'm probably like 60%, 65. I don't know. I'm on page 294 of 480. So yeah, about 2/3 of the way through. And I am loving this book so far. I am getting so attached to these characters. The conflict resolution that's going to come at the end, I feel like, is going to gut me. I can't imagine what the solution to this predicament that these characters are in is going to be. I'm even getting really connected to the side characters. You don't get a lot from the side characters, but you do see the interactions, obviously, with your main point of view characters. And the side characters, just the way that they're written, you feel like you know them, even though you don't really get a lot from them. You don't know anything really about their past or their history. You only know how they react and interact with the main characters. But I'm just really starting to like all of the characters in this book. It says on the back, choose a side. And like, I can't pick a side, and I can't talk about why, because one of the twists, I guess you would call it a twist. I wouldn't say there's like lots of twists in this book, but there's been lots of surprises. I have been really surprised by a lot of things in this book, but one of the main surprises I really can't talk about. It's very central. It's very central to the book, so it's really hard to give you more updates and information without spoiling anything. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. That's all I can say. But the surprises have been a little bit crazy, even though they're kind of like, once you get the surprise, you kind of think, well, that makes sense. I probably should have seen that coming, but it still they still surprised me. They still got me. And I just don't know. I don't know what the solution is going to be. I am dying to get to the end and see what the solution to this problem is and how this book ends. And I have a feeling, just based on how the story has gone so far, that beloved characters are going to get hurt, at least. I just have a feeling that's where this book is going. Also, I feel like it's going to end on a major cliffhanger, and I'm not ready for that. I think they said this was going to be a trilogy, so there's going to be 3. I don't know where I'm remembering that from. I can't tell you, but for some reason in my mind, I feel like this book's going to be a trilogy, and I don't know if I can wait for the second book. It's going to be hard. I mean, I'm going to have to. But it's going to be really hard. I have a feeling this is going to end on a big cliffhanger. I have a feeling that beloved characters are going to get hurt, and I'm not ready for it. But I'm so ready for it. So I'm going to sit here and probably finish the rest of this book today and give you all some final thoughts.
Okay, I didn't get much further in Exit Party that I'm reading as an electronic ARC, and it's just hard because what she's writing about and envisioning is a future United States that pretty much has gone through a civil war, another civil war, I should say. And I don't feel like she says when, but you start reading when it's 2031, and it talks about it as if it had occurred like a couple years prior. So it would basically be what we're going through right now, which if you watch the news, it definitely feels like that. And a lot actually happened this past weekend in Minnesota and Minneapolis. So I feel like it's tough to read because a lot of times we're reading books as escapism to get away from things that you want to see, another world that you want to live in. For this, I feel like I already live in the world and you're kind of seeing it as a future, but I feel like in a lot of senses you have to open your eyes to those kinds of things. And The Handmaid's Tale, 1984, George Orwell, there's so much that is kind of a warning and a siren call to make sure we're paying attention and to try and change the trajectory of where we're headed. So I'm going to keep reading for now, as much as I want to put it down and maybe pick it up at some other point. I'll let you guys know what I decide on doing, and I will be back with more thoughts.
I'm so glad I got a physical copy of this book. One, it's gorgeous, but two, it was really good. I think there's potential for this book to blow up. I do think this could be like a viral TikTok book or a book that lots of people talk about here on YouTube. And I'm so glad that I got to read it early and talk about it with y'all, because this book is different. It is romantasy, and it is sort of the same romantasy tropes. There is enemies to lovers aspect. There is forced proximity aspect. Obviously, there's different kinds of magics, and I love the way that these authors kind of wove the different types of magic. There's magic from witches who can do spells and potions, and there's magic from dragon riders who obviously can pull their magic from their dragons, and not one witch or one dragon rider has the same abilities, and there's different levels. So the magic systems are really cool and fun to read about, but they're not really anything new. Like, none of those concepts are new. I've read them before. What makes this book different is you're getting two point of views from two women. One woman, Astrid, is a witch, and the other woman, Skylar, is of the Dragon Rider clan. I won't say clan. I would say the Dragon Rider community. And even though not every person living in the Dragon Rider territory can ride a dragon, they are part of that side. They live in that community. They have that land. They're all ruled under a king. I'm sure you get it. I don't know why I feel the need to over-explain that. Anyways, Skylar is on the Dragon Rider side, and Astrid is a witch. And the romance, though, is between Astrid and Zyron. And Zyron is the Dragon Rider side prince. And I don't want to talk too much about it. It's hard because there's a major twist, a major plot turn, a major revelation that happens fairly early into the book. Not really early where I can talk about it, but early enough that the rest of the book follows this plot line. I'm sorry this is so hard for me to explain without explaining it, because I don't want to give obviously I don't want to give anything away. Anyways, y'all, I enjoyed the fact that you're getting the two female point of views and they're not the romance. So that was refreshing and nice. I will say, though, they do form an alliance, okay? So there's a little bit of hint about, some of the plot of this book. So they do form an alliance, and it's really nice to watch this alliance grow and form into a nice friendship. I will say though, I do wish we had Zyron's point of view purely for the romance part of the book, because in the beginning, when Zyron first meets Astrid, he kind of flirts with her and he's very forward and direct. And although that can speak to his character because he's a prince and he's used to getting whatever he wants and saying whatever he wants to anybody, it's just felt a little weird to say the least, because you don't know what's going on in his head and you're getting it from Astrid's point of view. So when he says things to Astrid, it seems odd, it seems weird, it seems a little creepy, it seems a little, I don't know, unnatural. It doesn't feel like it's a natural thing someone would say after just first meeting a person, especially a person that's supposed to be your enemy. So yeah, that was a little weird. And I think if we had Zyron's point of view and you could see what's going on in his head, it would more justify the things that he says and would make them less creepy. So the romance did feel a little kind of forced and awkward and icky in the beginning. And this is a slow burn romance, so I do appreciate that. I do like the slow burn romances. I'm finding the more that I read, I'm liking it more and more when the relationship develops over a longer period of time. So it is a slow burn, which I do like, but in the beginning it's a little awkward. And y'all, I just want to talk a little bit about the end of this book. So my emotions at the end of this book, I was like, oh, that's so predictable. That's really not what I wanted to happen. That's really not how I wanted this conflict to get resolved. But then it was like, okay, actually, this was kind of fun. And I'm kind of glad it was resolved this way. And then it was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's how this book ended. I can't wait for book number 2 because you're going to learn a whole bunch of new stuff, and I am excited to see where the story goes. So without giving away anything, that was sort of my line of thinking and my emotions at the end of this book when I was reading the last little bit. And it does end on a cliffhanger, and I do want to go straight into book number 2. Unfortunately, this book's not even published yet. It is coming April 28th. So you will be able to get your hands on it on April 28th, but that just means I have to wait such a long time to be able to get the next book in the series. So a little sad for that. So overall, I read books that I really enjoyed in this vlog. This vlog was really fun for me. I got to read a thriller / general fiction kind of horror book. I got to read a contemporary romance book, and I got to read a romantasy book. So all in all, I thought this vlog was really fun. Let me know, y'all, if you have any upcoming releases you're excited about, and if I can get my hands on an arc, if you want me to try to read them for you and maybe do some short form content that will let you all know what I think, or do a full arc review video. Let me know. Also, real quick, I'm curious, of the 3 books that I read, which of the 3 are the ones you're most drawn towards? Because I do have 3 different genres. Kind of like to know what you think. So let me know, based on this vlog and my review, which of the 3 books do you think you would want to pick up?
I am back, and I'm actually here for final thoughts. I did finish Exit Party, and I didn't record more. There were several reasons why I didn't record towards the end of it. I did pause for a little while. You saw my video where there were just parts of it that felt heavier, especially when you're looking. She is talking about a future world, because it's not just the United States, and I feel like some of it just felt, I don't know, depressing is the word I can think of. I did switch to reading something else. I read Theo the Golden, actually, and that one also ended up being, it was lighthearted. It was a feel-good book, but it also was, there were parts that were a little depressing. I feel like it's just a lot of things are feeling like that right now. I am not a big fan of winter. I don't have anything, I think, official in terms of how much it affects me seasonally, but when it's that cold and I feel like it just is draining, I have a harder time, I think, in the winter in terms of being able to really push myself through some of the more depressive themes in books. So with Exit Party, it ended up being a lot more hopeful towards the end, and the way Emily St. John Mandel tends to connect all of what she lays out in the beginning of her books, I feel that she does a very similar writing style in terms of Anthony Doerr and how he wrote Cloud Cuckoo Land. And I feel like there are other authors that do this too. And I don't think it's Gabrielle Zevin that I'm thinking of, but there are other authors that write this way. And I do enjoy it. I feel like it's puzzle pieces that you're getting. Oh, I know who I'm thinking of. It's Catriona Ward. And sometimes it can be hard because it can be very confusing. And in this one, she has a lot of characters. And another part that I'm on the fence of if it's a spoiler or not only is it a lot of characters, but part of the plot is, I don't know how to say it without it feeling like a spoiler, but there is another reason why there are so many characters. Something that happens that makes it very confusing with those characters. It's coming out so general, and I'm really trying hard to think of a way to say it that's not spoiler. So I don't know. I almost don't want to just say it because sometimes I get frustrated that I can't say certain things when I'm trying to talk about a book. But I'm also not really wanting to spoil things for people either, and be able to listen to our reviews and how we think of books without thinking like, oh, you just ruined the book for me. A lot of characters doesn't bother you. I think it will definitely be the type of book that you'd be okay with. There are a lot of books that have a wide variety of characters, and she definitely has a lot in this one. She also jumps around a lot in time, and I feel like it happens a lot even towards the ending. But sometimes it almost feels like she ends, like you get deep into this part of the story and she ends it and switches to either another character or another time, and you want more of that story. And the one instance I'm thinking of, I got very invested and she switches it, and then you don't really get resolution or more of the story at that time. You do find out about that part of the story, but I don't know. I feel like it got confusing, and it wasn't a typical 5-star book for me from her. I still gave her 4 stars for Exit Party because I feel like her writing deserves it. I feel she is so great at word choice and how she describes everything. I feel that I get lost in her writing. And she does tie everything up. There was one part that I was really frustrated with because I haven't read every single one of her books. And she did this with Sea of Tranquility, where there were characters from another book of hers that were in Sea of Tranquility. And I didn't know that because I hadn't read The Glass House, or I'm sorry, The Glass Hotel. And she did it again with this one. And I ran into it because there is part of the plot is regarding this painting, and she talks about this artist, and the way she was talking about it and so detailed, I thought, wait, maybe this is a real artist I'd never heard of. So I Googled it, and what came up made me laugh because it is an artist and character from The Glass Hotel. And I thought, oh, I guess we're doing that again. And at the very end, she does go over, so if you hadn't read it, you would know it by her describing at the very end that she did use characters from 2 of her previous books, both of which I haven't read, because I read Station 11, Sea of Tranquility, and then this one. It did make me want to read The Glass Hotel, and now I feel like I have to, because that's now 2 books that she referenced characters from another book. And that's the reason I had avoided Stephen King so much, is because I feel like he does that. I know he has one character, Holly Gibney, I want to say. He writes about her in several books. And what intimidates me about that is, where do you start? Like, which book would you truly want to start in to, make it you understand? And then, you know, what order. It's almost like doing a series, but not telling your readers what order of series to read them in. And I'm sure she would say you don't have to. Like, I enjoyed this book without having read Glass Hotel, but I think you get more out of it if you had read a previous book. And I read so many books that I don't know if I would have recognized the name unless that book made such an impression on me that I remembered. I think sometimes some of these books, especially if they reference characters later, I wish there was a way, and maybe sometimes it's just a wink and a nod to the reader if you enjoy that author's writing, that they just, it's like an Easter egg almost for someone to enjoy, and it's not a big deal. But I like knowing those types of things, so it was just a little thing about her books that I kind of knew going in. I just didn't think she would pick the Glass Hotel again. I almost thought she would pick Sea of Tranquility because there are elements of that plot that are very similar to this plot. So, of the books that I read, I feel that I like The Caretaker the most of the three I read. I was over the moon of getting that arc. I was so invested in that story. I finished it so fast. I enjoyed reading it so much. I highly, highly, highly recommend it if you like horror or any kind of strange book. I feel like that is such a great book. 5 stars. Loved it so much. Best book of the three that I read. The other two, I had hesitation, and there were reasons that I didn't enjoy them quite so much. For Adrift, it's just the other two were just like depressing subjects, and it's hard to read those sometimes. One was because of abuse, and I feel like there was a lot of tension in Adrift by Will Dean, and I can enjoy that to a point, but then it starts to be too much. And I was also very confused by the ending. I did end up texting with Amanda about it, and she had the same reaction to thinking something that happened in the story that I did, and was just really confusing. And then Exit Party is just because of the current state, the political climate in America especially, and how the world is also responding to the political climate. And I'm sure that's why she wrote it, was some of what you see as a potential that could happen in both America and the world. It doesn't feel good. It's not pleasant to think of where we can go with what's happening. And it's almost like a police state. It's not exactly like that, but I'd have to really try and explain one of the plot points, and it just wasn't fun to read or think about, especially right now. But I know the title of this vlog is We Heart Arcs, and I do love reading arcs as much as the subjects might have not been exactly pleasant. I did enjoy getting a chance to read them, especially The Caretaker and The Exit Party, because with The Caretaker, once I read what that was about and it sounded so interesting, and I loved his first one, I really wanted to read it. So I was over the moon that I got a chance to read that one. And then Emily St. John Mandel, when I heard she had one coming out in September, I was very surprised at how quickly I was able to get a chance to read the electronic arc. So yes, definitely love arcs, and we will continue to read them and do reviews and do vlogs because it's something we very much pay attention to for our channel, and we are very grateful to the publishers for giving us a chance to read them and talk about them on here. Thanks so much for watching. I feel like this vlog might end up being pretty long, though I didn't record as much for the Exit Party. I feel like because we each did 3, I don't know how much Amanda has recorded, but I have a feeling it might be longer. So thank you so much for sticking with us as we talk about all of the arcs that we've read. Let us know if you're interested in any of these. Has this made you interested in it? Are there arcs that you've had a chance to read and you really love? You can put them in the comments. Let us know any thoughts that you have. Thanks so much, guys, and until next time.